Hello. Are you ready for 45 minutes of high theory and PowerPoint? Because you're not getting that. It was tempting, but no. Before we do anything else, though, I want us to do one thing a little better. Satu, where did you disappear off to? Satu, just wait there. Just wait there. Now I'm going to need your help for a moment because there are people behind the scenes, there are people in front of the scenes, there are people who get applause, but there are people who don't get enough. And we can't fix everything for everybody, but we can do one thing for one person. And though she doesn't know it yet, that person is going to be Satu. So right now, I want you to forget all about ski sports, even though that may be hard. I want you to think back to 2006. And you are at the stage with Lordi, a Finnish heavy metal band in monster costume. And they are just about to play their final number. And Satu is going to represent Lordi. So when she gets on stage, I don't want you to clap. I don't want you to cheer. I want you to go absolutely wild. Can you do that? Can you do that? Presenting one of your unsung heroes, Satu! Thank you. Thank you, Satu. That's it. Yes. See? Now she's going to go back to work. Eric said it before, the experience is everything. But what does that mean? I'm going to take you back through a bit of history. It's going to be fast. If you think back a couple of thousands of years to our ancestors, most of the world lived by selling commodities, by getting things out of the earth, by hunting things, food, precious metals, fish, anything that could be taken by the earth, an agrarian economy, a commodities economy. Whether you took a little bit of grain from one place or another, it was basically still grain. That's how the world worked for thousands of years. Cut to the 1800s with the Industrial Revolution, and suddenly products became possible to live by. That continued until after the Second World War, where most of the economy became based on services. Now a question to all of you. How many of you live by selling things? How many of you sell products? How many of you sell services? Excellent. How many of you sell experiences? The thing about experiences is they don't just matter to the people who see them. They don't just matter to the people who they are for. One small thing said by somebody on a social media review can make or break an experience, can make or break a destination. Don't believe social media is a good place to start? But I basically want to give you a pretty simple message. In a world that's becoming faster moving and more complex, there's a good piece of news. AI is not going to take over your jobs. You are not going to be replaced by AI ski instructors anytime soon. That is thing number one. Thing number two is there's never been a better chance to do something different. We've all just been through impossible. How many of you had your work lives upended 3 years ago? I'm going to assume that's all of you, unless you're crazy. There's never been a better time to do it differently. So I'm going to give you 3 tips, 3 simple tips, and then I'm going to leave you to this party. The first is, how many of you have ever been to Disneyland? So what you may or may not know is that when new employees start at Disney, they are taught a couple of stories, the Disney stories, the ones to aspire to. And one of these, though I've never worked at Disney, I've worked with Disney, And it means that I've heard one of these stories. It's the story of a 5-year-old girl coming to Disneyland with her mother. And because there's construction going on, something is being built, she goes and looks at the fence where there's a hole and looks to see the construction. And because she's 5, she takes her small doll and she throws it over the wall. And it's gone. And she cries, and the mother says, "We'll tell the staff to look for it, but don't put your hopes up." And the mother comforts her daughter and goes to the staff as they leave and say, "Hey, my daughter threw over her doll over the wall to the construction area. You probably won't find it, but if you do, we're at this and this hotel." And they go to the hotel and think it's over. But it's not, because this is Disney, and this is one of their stories. Because what happens is that that person, that Disney staff member, before leaving work, goes and finds the doll. And the doll is muddy and is about to deliver the doll to the hotel, thinking the little girl will be happy, but is stopped by one of her colleagues who says, "No, we can't deliver the doll, it's muddy." They take it to the Disney Imagineers, who live a little while off from Disneyland, and they say, "Oh, a muddy doll. It needs a new dress. In fact, why not give it several new dresses? It needs new hair because we can't get the mud out of the hair, so why not give it a completely new hairstyle?" And then they're going to deliver it to the hotel in the morning, but an Imagineer tells the others, says, "We can't just deliver the doll. Yes, it's got new hair. Yes, it's got new dresses. But why has it been away?" So the Imagineer goes to the park with the doll with a Polaroid camera and takes pictures of the doll in front of different places, in front of different rides, to prove that the doll was missing, not because it was gone or lost, but because it was out exploring Disneyland on its own. And then they deliver the doll and those pictures in an envelope to the mother and her daughter at their hotel in the morning. Do you think that mother told that story to all of her friends? Do you think that daughter will ever forget that? Of course not. That's why that story is being told even by people who weren't there. If you want to create those stories, it's very simple. I want you to turn to the person next to you, those of you who are still listening and not completely drunk, and ask them, very simple, find somebody right next to you and ask them, "What was your best ski experience?" Take a minute. Talk to the person next to you. Ask them, "What was your best ski experience in your life?" Now, those of you who listened, how many mentioned something that had to do with conquering something or accomplishing something or doing something for the first time? Raise your hands. Excellent. How many mentioned something to do with other people? And how many mentioned something to do with a magical experience in nature? How many mentioned buying a product? 0. How many mentioned the price? 0. There is a piece of research done by the American Boston Consulting Group, which laid the foundations for a book written by 2 American gentlemen. They looked at American companies from the Second World War and onwards, and what they found was 2 things that made for success. 1, every time a company was confronted with having to raise the price or lower the quality, the successful ones raised the price and kept the quality. And number 2, every time a company had the chance to lower the price or keep the quality, they kept the quality and added something instead. Never lower the price, because that's not what it's about. Never compromise on quality, because that's what people will remember. The great American poet Maya Angelou puts it very nicely. People will not remember what you say. They will remember how you make them feel. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You got the Disney story. You'll get one a bit closer to home, and this is from my life 20 years ago with an insurance company. It doesn't get more boring than that. My computer was broken, and we sent it off, and then we got a call from the insurance company, and the guy from there said, We found there was a CD by a Danish musician in the drive, and we couldn't get it to work. I went down to the local CD store and bought the greatest hits from this guy. I hope that was okay. Do you think I told that story to people? Do you think I was a happy camper? Of course. And to take it to your own industry, how many of you have been to Snowbird in Utah? Ah, see, that's why we have the Americans here, to woo at that kind of thing. Snowbird in Utah. Oh, yeah. Canadians. But Snowbird in Utah did something pretty brilliant some years back. They had people complaining about their place, said it was too hard, said it didn't have the right facilities. They got one-star reviews, and what did they do? They took those one-star reviews and they turned them into advertising campaigns. They took a one-star review saying there are no easy runs, and they made that into advertising. Who came for that? The people who didn't want easy runs. It's not about pleasing everybody. It's about finding the people you want to please and delighting them. It's not about that $10 voucher or that email you've all gotten, that fake personal one that says, "Dear blah, 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 we would like to inform you that if you go to our webpage, you can pay us money." It's about delight. It's about caring. It's about creating that experience. And before I leave the stage, because you have better things to do than listen to me here, I want to give you one final question. And this time I'd like a little bit of a spirited response. How many of you are in the business of delight? And the good part is even those who didn't understand the question understand it's time to woo. And that's what matters. I'm going to give you 6 days of Interski, 6 days of being together. 300 crazy workshops. Waka waka is going on. It's a privilege to be here to open this. And now, thank you. And have a wonderful Interski.